The gavel came down with a thunderous crack that echoed through the packed courtroom, and in that instant, everything changed for Alex Thompson. What had begun as years of relentless bullying and vicious blame for simply being who he was had culminated in this moment of unexpected reckoning, where the man who had made his life hell was now facing the consequences ordered by the law. Alex sat motionless at the plaintiff's table, his heart hammering so loudly he was sure the entire room could hear it. Judge Harlan's voice cut through the stunned silence like a blade. Mr. Kessler, you are hereby ordered to pay $2 million in compensatory and punitive damages to Mr. Thompson for sustained emotional distress, defamation, and the creation of a hostile environment that spanned more than a decade. Ryan Kessler, the once untouchable high school football hero, now a slick car dealer in their hometown, looked as if someone had punched him in the gut. His lawyer whispered frantically, but Ryan just stared at Alex with eyes that still carried the same contempt from 15 years ago. Alex didn't smile. He didn't cheer. He simply closed his eyes and let the words wash over him like rain after a long drought. For the first time in his adult life, the weight that had pressed on his chest since he was 13 began to lift. The bailiff announced the session adjourned, and the courtroom erupted in murmurs. Alex's attorney, Elena Ramirez, a sharp woman in a navy suit, squeezed his shoulder. "You did it, Alex. It's over." But Alex knew it wasn't really over. The money, the public apology, the court record, none of it could erase the nights he had cried himself to sleep or the mornings he had stared in the mirror wondering if being gay made him deserve every punch, every slur, every rumor. Still, it was a beginning. As he stepped out into the bright Chicago afternoon, the wind off, Lake Michigan tugged at his coat. His phone buzzed. "Jordan, I'm outside. Can't wait to see you." Alex smiled for the first time that day. Jordan Mills, his partner of 3 years, had been his anchor through the entire lawsuit, the late-night strategy sessions, the panic attacks, the moments when Alex wanted to drop everything and run. He spotted Jordan leaning against a black SUV, tall and steady with kind brown eyes and the gentle smile that at first made Alex believe love could be safe. They met in a quiet hug right there on the courthouse steps, the kind of embrace that said more than words ever could. But to understand how they reached this moment, Alex had to go back. Back to Wichita, Kansas, where the story really began in the fluorescent-lit hallways of Northridge High. Alex had always been different, quiet, artistic, the boy who preferred sketching in his notebook to slamming into other kids on the football field. At 13, he realized the fluttering in his stomach when he looked at the senior class president wasn't just admiration. It was desire. He told no one. Not his strict father, who quoted Bible verses at dinner, not his mother, who smiled tightly and changed the subject. He buried it deep. Then came freshman year and Ryan Kessler. Ryan was everything Alex wasn't. Broad-shouldered, charismatic, the quarterback who dated cheerleaders and ruled the school with a grin and fist. The first time Ryan noticed Alex was in gym class when Alex flinched away from the group shower. "What's the matter, Thompson?" "Afraid you'll like what you see." The laughter that followed stuck to Alex like glue. From then on, it escalated. Locker room shoves in the hallway. Notes shoved in his locker, calling him every slur in the book. Ryan and his crew made it their mission to remind Alex daily that he didn't belong. The breaking point came on a rainy October night after a homecoming game. Alex had stayed late in the art room, finishing drawing a secret portrait of a boy from his English class. Ryan and 3 friends cornered him behind the bleachers. "We saw you staring at guys again, fag." The first punch landed on his ribs. The second split his lip. They kept going until Alex was on the ground, curled into a ball, tasting blood. When a teacher finally intervened, Ryan spun the story perfectly. "He came at me first, coach. Tried to grab me, said he wanted to show me something. I was defending myself." The school believed the star athlete. Alex was suspended for 3 days for provoking the fight. His father grounded him for a month and told him to man up. His mother cried in the kitchen, but said nothing. That night, in his bedroom, Alex stared at the ceiling and made a promise to himself. He would never let them see him break again. He would survive, but survival came at a cost. He learned to shrink himself, to walk with his head down, to laugh along with the jokes, even when they cut him to the bone. By senior year, he had perfected the art of invisibility. He dated a girl once just to stop the rumors, but it felt like wearing someone else's skin. College in Chicago was supposed to be his escape. The University of Illinois at Chicago offered anonymity and distance. In his dorm room on the first night, he allowed himself to breathe. He joined the LGBTQ Student Alliance in secret. There he met people who understood the weight he carried. But the scars ran deep. When a kind classmate asked him out on a date, Alex panicked and ghosted him for weeks. Trust was a foreign language. Then in his junior year, he met Jordan in a literature seminar. Jordan was a graduate teaching assistant with a soft voice and an easy laugh. Their first conversation was about a poem by Langston Hughes, and something in the way Jordan listened without judgment cracked the wall Alex had built. They started studying together, then sharing coffee, then late-night walks along the lake. When Jordan finally kissed him under the stars on a rooftop, one spring evening, Alex didn't pull away. For the first time, he felt seen not as the kid who got beaten, but as someone worthy of tenderness. Yet, even with Jordan, the past lingered. Alex still flinched at loud voices, still checked over his shoulder in crowds. Jordan was patient, endlessly patient, but Alex could see the worry in his eyes when the nightmares came. "You don't have to carry it alone anymore," Jordan would whisper, holding him through the dark. Alex wanted to believe him. But belief was hard when the bully from your past still haunted your dreams. Now, 10 years later, standing outside the courthouse with Jordan's arms around him, Alex felt the first real crack in that armor. The lawsuit had started 6 months earlier after the disastrous high school reunion. Ryan had shown up drunk and loud, cornering Alex near the bar. "Still a little princess, huh, Thompson? Heard you're living the gay life in the big city. Bet your daddy's real proud." The words stung, but Alex walked away. Then the online post started. Ryan shared old photos, doctor captions claiming Alex had been the aggressor all those years ago, that he had tried to ruin Ryan's future. The posts went viral in their small-town circles. Alex lost a major client at his graphic design firm when the CEO saw the rumors and questioned his character. That was the final straw. With Elena's help, Alex filed suit. Gathering evidence was brutal. Old classmates who had stayed silent for years now came forward with text, videos, even the original police report that had been buried. Chris Harlan, his former best friend, who had watched the beating and said nothing, finally broke down in tears during his deposition. "I was scared, Alex. Scared they'd turn on me too." The betrayal still hurt, but the apology was a start. As they drove away from the courthouse that afternoon, Jordan kept one hand on the wheel, the other reaching for Alex's. "How do you feel?" he asked softly. Alex looked out at the glittering skyline. "Like I can finally breathe." But even as he said it, a small voice inside whispered that breathing was only the beginning. There were still phone calls to make to his parents, who had refused to attend the trial. There were conversations with Jordan about what came next. And there was the long road of learning to live without the constant fear that had defined him for so long. The sun was setting over the lake, painting the water gold when they pulled up to their apartment. Jordan turned off the engine and turned to him. "Tonight is about you. Whatever you need." Alex leaned in and kissed him, slow and grateful. In that kiss was every unsaid thank you, every shared tear, every quiet moment of courage Jordan had given him. For the first time, Alex allowed himself to imagine a future where the past didn't own him. The weeks after the verdict blurred into a whirlwind of paperwork, interviews, and a strange new reality of being the man who had taken down Ryan Kessler. Local news in Wichita picked up the story. Local businessman ordered to pay millions in gay bullying case. Alex's phone wouldn't stop ringing. Old classmates sent messages, some apologetic, some defensive. His mother called crying. "We didn't know it was that bad, honey. Your father." Her voice trailed off. Alex listened, but the old ache remained. His father still hadn't spoken to him since the lawsuit began. Jordan suggested they take a weekend away, just the two of them. They drove north to a cabin in Door County, Wisconsin, where the trees were turning fiery red and the air smelled of pine. On the first night, they sat on the dock wrapped in blankets, watching the stars. Jordan's head rested on Alex's shoulder. "Tell me about the boy you were before Ryan," he said gently. Alex hesitated, then the words came pouring out. "The secret crushes the nights." He prayed to stop feeling this way. The drawing he hid under his mattress of the boy he could never have. Jordan listened without interrupting, his fingers tracing slow circles on Alex's palm. When Alex finished, Jordan kissed his temple. That boy was brave, even when he didn't know it. And look at the man he became. In the quiet that followed, Alex felt something shift. For years, he had believed his sexuality was the problem, the reason for every hurt. Now, with Jordan's steady love beside him, he began to see it as the part of himself that had survived. The part worth fighting for. Back in Chicago, life settled into a new rhythm. Alex returned to work where his boss offered a promotion as a quiet apology for doubting him. He threw himself into projects designing campaigns for LGBTQ nonprofits, pouring the pain of the past into colors and shapes that told stories of resilience. One evening, he stayed late sketching a new logo when Chris called. "I'm in town for a conference. Can we meet?" They met at a quiet cafe near the river. Chris looked older, thinner, the easy confidence of high school long gone. "I testified because it was the right thing, but I still feel like shit for not doing it sooner." Alex studied him for a long moment. "I was angry for a long time, but holding on to it was hurting me more than you." They talked for hours about the boys they had been, about the silence that protected the bullies. When they hugged goodbye, it felt like closing a small chapter. That night, Alex told Jordan about the meeting. They cooked dinner together, pasta and wine, the kind of ordinary evening that felt miraculous after months of tension. Later in bed, Jordan pulled him close. "I'm proud of you, not just for the lawsuit, but for how you're letting people back in." Alex traced the line of Jordan's jaw. "I couldn't have done any of it without you." Their kiss deepened, tender and full of promise. No rush, no pressure, just the quiet joy of two men who had chosen each other every single day. Yet the past wasn't done with him. A week later, an email arrived from his father. Short, formal. "Your mother showed me the news. We need to talk." Alex read it 3 times, his stomach twisting. Jordan sat beside him on the couch. "You don't have to go alone." They flew to Wichita together, the first time Jordan would meet Alex's parents. The drive from the airport felt endless. When they pulled up to the modest brick house, his mother was waiting on the porch, tears already falling. She hugged Alex, so tight he could barely breathe, then turned to Jordan with open arms. "Thank you for loving my son." His father sat at the kitchen table, hands folded. The conversation was halting at first. "I thought I was protecting you by being hard on you. I was wrong." The words were simple, but they cracked something open in Alex. He didn't forgive everything that night, but he left with the beginning of understanding. On the plane home, Jordan held his hand the whole way. "You faced the courtroom. You faced this. There's nothing you can't do." The following months brought more healing. Alex started therapy, not just to process the trauma, but to build tools for the life ahead. He and Jordan began talking about the future seriously. A house, maybe. Adoption someday. The conversations were filled with laughter and quiet dreams, the kind that made the scars feel a little less sharp. One Saturday, they volunteered at a youth center for LGBTQ teens. Watching a 13-year-old boy who reminded Alex of himself sketch nervously in the corner, Alex felt a surge of purpose. He sat down and talked with the boy for an hour, sharing just enough to let him know he wasn't alone. That evening, back at their apartment, Alex stood on the balcony looking out over the city lights. Jordan joined him, sliding an arm around his waist. "What are you thinking?" Alex turned to him, eyes shining. That the kid who got beaten behind the bleachers never imagined he'd be here. Happy, loved, free. Jordan kissed him softly under the stars, and in that moment the world felt wide open. But freedom wasn't without its tests. A month later, Ryan's appeal made headlines again. His lawyers claimed the damages were excessive, that the judge had been biased. Alex felt the old fear creep back in. What if they overturned everything? What if the money never came and the apology was just words? Jordan noticed the tension immediately. "We fight this together, too." They spent evenings poring over legal documents, Elena reassuring them the appeal had little chance. Still, the waiting gnawed at Alex. One night, the anxiety peaked. He woke gasping from a dream where Ryan was laughing in the courtroom again. Jordan held him through it, whispering promises until the shaking stopped. In the quiet hours before dawn, Alex made a decision. No matter what the appeal brought, he would not let it steal his peace. He had already won the only thing that mattered, his own voice. The appeal dragged on for weeks, turning into months. Alex threw himself into work and into the life he was building with Jordan to keep the worry at bay. They celebrated small victories, a new contract for Alex, a promotion for Jordan at the high school where he taught history. On weekends, they explored neighborhoods, dreaming about the kind of home they wanted someday, a place with a garden and a room for art. Jordan's patience never wavered, but Alex could see the toll the uncertainty took on him too. "I hate seeing you carry this alone, even when I'm right here," Jordan said one evening after Alex had been quiet through dinner. They talked late into the night about boundaries, about how love meant sharing the load. Alex promised to try. Then one crisp October morning, Elena called. The appeal was denied. "It's final, Alex. Ryan has 30 days to pay or face contempt." Relief flooded Alex, so strong his knees nearly buckled. He called Jordan immediately, voice cracking with joy. That weekend, they drove to a cabin again, this time to celebrate. They hiked through golden woods, cooked over an open fire, and made love with the kind of slow, tender passion that came from knowing they had earned every moment. Lying together, afterward, Jordan traced the faint scar on Alex's lip from that long-ago beating. "This doesn't define you anymore." Alex believed him. Back in Chicago, the money arrived in installments. Alex didn't spend it on luxuries. He set up a scholarship fund for LGBTQ youth in Wichita, named after the art teacher who had quietly supported him in high school. He donated to the youth center and quietly helped a few former classmates who reached out struggling with their own secrets. The act of giving felt like the final piece of reclaiming his story. His relationship with his parents continued to mend in small, careful steps. His mother visited Chicago for a week, staying in their guest room. She and Jordan bonded over cooking and gardening tips. His father sent a card on Alex's birthday, short but sincere. "Proud of the man you've become." It wasn't perfect, but it was progress, and Alex cherished it. Friendships deepened too. Chris became a regular visitor, flying in for long weekends. They talked about everything from sports to politics to the regrets they both carried. One night over beers, Chris admitted, "I wish I could go back and stand up sooner." Alex clapped him on the shoulder. "We can only move forward." Their friendship felt honest for the first time. As winter approached, Alex and Jordan began planning a trip to New York for the holidays. They wanted to see the tree at Rockefeller Center, walk through Central Park hand in hand without fear. The night before their flight, Alex stood in their living room looking at the framed photo on the wall, the one taken outside the courthouse the day of the verdict. In it, he and Jordan were smiling, tired but triumphant. He realized then how far he had come from the boy who hid in art rooms to the man who stood in courtrooms. The New York trip was magical. They ice skated at Bryant Park, laughed until their sides hurt at comedy clubs, and on Christmas Eve exchanged simple gifts under the hotel tree. Jordan gave him a silver bracelet engraved with the date of the verdict and the words, "You are enough." Alex gave Jordan a custom sketchbook filled with drawings of their life, together, moments big and small. They kissed at midnight as snow fell outside the window, and Alex felt the last shadows of doubt melt away. Returning to Chicago in the new year brought fresh energy. Alex started a side project illustrating a children's book about a boy who learns to love his differences. The publisher loved it, and the advance allowed him to cut back on client work. Jordan proposed they foster a dog, and they adopted an energetic rescue named Max, who filled their apartment with chaos and joy. Life felt full, rich in ways Alex had never dared to dream. Yet the story wasn't only his. Jordan had his own journey. Growing up in a conservative suburb, he had hidden his sexuality until college, too. The lawsuit had brought up old memories for him, fears of losing Alex to the past. One quiet Sunday morning, over coffee, Jordan opened up. "Watching you fight this battle made me realize I never fully faced my own." They talked for hours that day about therapy, for Jordan about setting boundaries with his own family. Alex listened the way Jordan had always listened to him, and the sharing their bond grew even stronger. By spring, the city bloomed, and so did their plans. They found a house in a quiet neighborhood with a backyard perfect for Max and future barbecues. The closing was set for June. As they packed boxes together laughing over old photos, Alex paused at one from high school, a faded picture of him alone in the art room. He showed it to Jordan. This kid never thought he'd have any of this. Jordan pulled him into a hug, but he fought for it every single day. The move happened on a sunny Saturday, with help from Chris and a few new friends from the youth center. By evening, the house felt like home. They sat on the back porch with Max at their feet, watching the sunset paint the sky pink and orange. Alex leaned against Jordan, content in a way he had never known. The bullying, the blame, the years of hiding, they had shaped him, but they no longer controlled him. He was free to love, freely to create, freely to live fully. Summer brought heat waves and new beginnings. Alex's book launched to modest but heartfelt success. Schools and libraries invited him to speak, and he accepted everyone, especially those in smaller towns where kids like his younger self might be sitting in the audience. At each event, he shared pieces of his story, never for pity, but to show that survival was possible, that love waited on the other side of fear. Jordan attended whenever he could, sitting in the back row, beaming with pride. One afternoon after a talk at a suburban library, a teenage boy approached shyly. "Your story sounds like mine. Does it get better?" Alex knelt to his level. "It does. Not overnight and not without help, but it does. You're not alone." He handed the boy his card and a copy of the book. Watching the boy walk away with his mother, Alex felt the full circle of his journey. The pain had purpose now. At home, life settled into a beautiful routine. Mornings with coffee on the porch, evenings cooking together, weekends exploring the city with Max. Their love had matured into something deep and steady, the kind that didn't need grand gestures because every day was one. Yet they still made time for romance. On their 4th anniversary, Jordan surprised Alex with tickets to a Broadway show in New York, followed by a quiet dinner overlooking the Hudson. Under the city lights, Jordan raised his glass. "To the man who taught me what courage really looks like." Alex's eyes stung with happy tears. "To us. All of us, the boy I was, the man I am, and the future we're building." Back in Wichita, Ryan had paid the final installment, and the public apology had been printed in the local paper. Alex read it once and then let it go. He no longer needed Ryan's words to validate his truth. The money continued to fund scholarships and support programs, and that was enough. His father's health declined that fall, and Alex flew home alone at first, then with Jordan when things worsened. Sitting by the hospital bed, Alex held his father's hand. "I'm sorry for the years I didn't understand," his father whispered. Alex nodded, forgiveness flowing easier now. "We're here now, Dad. That's what matters." His mother watched from the doorway, tears streaming. The family that had once felt fractured began to heal in the quiet ways that mattered most. When his father recovered enough to go home, Alex and Jordan stayed a week helping around the house. One evening, his father asked Jordan to join him on the porch. Alex watched from the kitchen window as the two men talked. Later, Jordan shared that his father had said, "Take care of my son. He deserves the world." Jordan had replied, "I know, and he's giving it right back to me every day." The holidays that year were the warmest Alex could remember. They hosted a small gathering at their new house, his parents, Chris, Jordan's sister, and a few close friends. Laughter filled the rooms. Max ran between guests, and Alex stood back for a moment, taking it all in. This was the life he had fought for, the one he almost didn't believe he could have. As the new year began, Alex felt a pull to do more. He and Jordan started a support group for adult survivors of bullying, meeting monthly at the community center. The first session was raw and emotional, but by the end, everyone left with lighter shoulders. Alex facilitated with honesty and compassion, Jordan offering quiet strength beside him. The group grew quickly, word spreading through the LGBTQ network. Spring arrived with fresh energy. Alex finished illustrations for a second book, this one about chosen family. Jordan proposed expanding the support group into a nonprofit. They spent evenings brainstorming names, filing paperwork, dreaming big. One night, after a long planning session, they collapsed on the couch, exhausted but excited. Jordan pulled Alex close. "I love the life we're creating." Alex kissed him deeply. "I love that I get to create it with you." The following months were a blur of growth and connection. The nonprofit launched successfully with Alex as artistic director and Jordan handling education programs. They hired staff, including a counselor who had her own story of survival. The work was demanding but rewarding in ways that filled Alex's soul. Through it all, his love for Jordan remained the steady center. They celebrated 5 years together with a quiet vow renewal in their backyard, surrounded by close friends and family. No big ceremony, just heartfelt words exchanged under string lights with Max, wearing a bow tie. Alex's mother cried happy tears as father clapped proudly. Chris gave a toast that had everyone laughing and tearing up. In that moment, Alex knew the journey had been worth every scar. The support group and nonprofit continued to expand, reaching more young people and adults across the Midwest. Alex traveled for speaking engagements, balancing it with his design work and always returning home to Jordan and Max. Each trip reinforced how far he had come and how many others were still walking the same path he once did. He made a point to stay after events to talk one-on-one, offering the kind of guidance he wished he had received at 13. One particularly meaningful trip took him back to Wichita for a youth conference. Standing on the stage in the same auditorium where he had once hidden in the back row, Alex spoke with a confidence that surprised even him. "I was the kid who thought being different meant I was broken. Today I stand here whole, loved, and free. If I can do it, so can you." The standing ovation that followed wasn't for him alone. It was for every kid in the audience who dared to hope. Afterward, Ryan's younger brother approached quietly. "He's changed, you know. Not completely, but he's trying." Alex nodded. "Change is possible for all of us." He meant it. Home again, he and Jordan focused on a nonprofit's first major fundraiser, a gala at a downtown gallery featuring Alex's artwork. The night was a resounding success, raising funds and awareness. As they danced together under the chandeliers, Jordan whispered, "This is our legacy." Alex held him tighter, knowing it was true. Summer brought another milestone. They adopted a second dog, a gentle lab, mix named Luna, to keep Max company. The house filled with even more life and laughter. Evenings were spent on the porch telling stories, planning the next chapter. One night, Jordan surprised Alex with plane tickets to Italy for their 6th anniversary. Time to make new memories far from the past. The trip was everything they dreamed: romantic walks through Florence, gondola rides in Venice, and quiet dinners where they talked about everything and nothing. On the last night in Rome, under a full moon, Jordan got down on one knee. "Alex Thompson, will you marry me?" Alex said yes through happy tears, and they celebrated with gelato and kisses that tasted like forever. Returning home, they began planning a simple wedding for the following spring. Family and friends pitched in with ideas and support. Alex's parents offered their backyard in Wichita for the ceremony, a full-circle moment that felt right. As the date approached, Alex felt only peace. The boy who had been blamed and bullied was now the man, choosing love openly and proudly. The wedding day dawned bright and clear. Flowers lined the aisle, friends and family filled the seats. Alex walked down with his mother on one arm and his father on the other. Jordan waited at the end, handsome and steady, tears already in his eyes. Their vows were simple and heartfelt. Alex spoke of courage and second chances, Jordan of unwavering belief and shared dreams. When they kissed, the cheers that rose were for every step of the journey that led them there. The reception was joyful, dancing laughter toasts that brought both tears and laughter. Chris, as best man, shared stories that had everyone in stitches. Alex's mother danced with Jordan like he was her own son. His father pulled Alex aside. "I'm so proud of the life you've built." The words healed something deep. As the night ended, Alex and Jordan slipped away for a private moment under the stars. "We made it," Alex whispered. Jordan smiled. "We're just getting started." Married life felt like a beautiful continuation. They honeymooned in Hawaii, then returned to their work and their growing family of 2 dogs and a house full of love. The nonprofit thrived, expanding to online resources that reached even more people. Alex continued illustrating books that celebrated diversity and resilience, each one a love letter to his younger self. Through every season, their bond deepened. They faced challenges together, small and large, always choosing each other. When Jordan's sister went through a difficult divorce, they offered their home as a refuge. When Alex's book won an award, they celebrated quietly with a picnic in the park. Life was rich and perfect, and theirs. Years passed in a gentle rhythm of love, work, and chosen family. The nonprofit became a beacon in the Midwest, offering counseling workshops and community events that changed lives. Alex and Jordan balanced their roles with grace, making time for date nights and quiet mornings on the porch. Max and Luna grew older and slower, but no less loved. They added a sunroom to the house where Alex could sketch with natural light pouring in. One autumn, they traveled to San Francisco for a national LGBTQ conference where Alex was a keynote speaker. Standing before hundreds, he shared the full arc of his story from the bleachers to the courtroom to the home he built with Jordan. Justice is important, but healing comes from connection, from choosing to love despite the fear. The applause was thunderous, but the real reward came later when young attendees lined up to thank him. Each conversation reminded him why the fight had been worth it. Back home, they celebrated their 10th anniversary with a trip to the cabin in Door County, where their relationship had first deepened. Walking the same trails, they reflected on the path they had traveled. "I never imagined this kind of peace," Alex said as they sat by the lake. Jordan took his hand. "You earned it every single day." That night by the fire, they renewed their vows again, just the two of them promising to keep choosing each other through whatever came next. Life continued to surprise them in beautiful ways. They became foster parents to a teenage boy named Mateo, who reminded Alex so much of his younger self, quiet, artistic, and carrying invisible scars. Helping Mateo find his voice and his place in the world became one of their greatest joys. Watching him graduate high school and head to college filled their hearts with pride. "We're passing it on," Jordan said one evening as they watched Mateo sketch at the kitchen table. Alex nodded, tears in his eyes. The cycle of pain had been broken. Through it all, the love between them remained a constant. They argued sometimes about small things, laughed more than they fought, and supported each other's dreams without question. Alex's art evolved into larger installations exhibited in galleries across the country. Jordan wrote a book about teaching inclusive history that became a resource in schools. Their lives were full of purpose and passion. One spring morning years later, Alex stood in their garden watching Jordan plant flowers with Mateo, now a young man visiting for the weekend. The sun warmed his face, and he felt a deep gratitude for every twist and turn that had led him here. The bullying, the blame, the verdict, the healing, none of it had been wasted. It had all shaped the man who could stand here whole and loved. As the three of them shared lunch on the patio, laughing over old stories, Alex realized the journey was never really about the courtroom or the money. It was about finding the courage to live authentically, to love fiercely, and to help others do the same. He had done that and more. True or false? A single court verdict can fully erase the emotional scars left by years of bullying and prejudice.